Welcome back. As you can see, spoiler alert, I have a new peak rating on chess.com in my rapid time control, 1262, and I'm pretty happy about that. I wasn't, however, very happy with how it happened, and I'm going to run through the game that put me over 1260 for the first time. Hopefully it won't take too long. Okay. One thing that was weird about this game is that my opponent opened with h4. And I will just say that I had my mouse pointer already on the c-pawn, intending to play the Caro-Kann if they played e4 to open, and so I did that anyway. It wasn't the best, it says. c5 is the best, is what the engine says, but anyway. So I played that, not too bad, but then my opponent played g4. And I have this arrow here from a previous analysis, but that's the next move in the Caro-Kann, which is what I had been intending to play anyway. But now that they've played this, not only does playing d5 get some control over the center, but it opens my light-squared bishop to take that pawn. Now, to be honest, I did expect them to defend it with either bishop out to h3 or moving the pawn to f3 maybe. Wasn't entirely sure what they were planning here. And so already I'm way out of my comfort zone. My opponent, their next move was not ideal. They didn't move to protect that pawn. And now let's turn on the engine. You can see my best move is to take that pawn. So I did. But again, way out of the prep and comfort zone. I have no idea what to do here. And my opponent plays another move that's not one of their better moves. And honestly, the reason that arrow's there is I was worried maybe that they were going to try to keep advancing that pawn. And so even though my best move now is to play knight to d7, I played h5 to not only to guard my bishop, but also to keep their pawn from advancing. It's not that bad. But as very often happens in my games, I start making tactical mistakes and positional mistakes as we transition from the opening into the middle game. And I'm just going to skip a bunch of moves here and go to move 27, which is where my opponent was up, as you can see, +9. I've made quite a few mistakes here, including the move that has just been made. Right there, I should have taken the rook. I have no idea why I chose that instead, other than, as you can see down at the bottom, my time control, I'm down to almost 2 minutes. My opponent still has 6.5. They've been playing very quickly this whole time, perhaps relying on their apparent tactical skills to win this, and it was working. Every move I was having to think. Every move I'm in an unfamiliar position, have no idea what to do. Here, as soon as I did move that, I realized, oh, now their rook's getting away. I could have gotten their rook for the knight, is what would have happened. So I have no idea why I did that. I will say that for the last few moves, I had been moving this knight back and forth, unsure what else to do. But here my opponent did not play their best move, which was to bring their other rook over to double their rooks. And instead, they brought their endangered rook back to the back rank, which, as you can see, lost 3 points of their advantage right off the bat. Well, what can I do now? I'm possibly worried about a queen infiltration. I know that if I bring my knight back now, their queen can just take it. So I moved my queen over to guard that spot. Also, though, I was starting to think I don't have any other chances here other than to start going after their king. My knight is in a fairly good spot where it guards a getaway square for their king. It's not going to get bumped out of that square anytime soon, probably. And my queen's only path to that side is through here, or possibly through here. But this is not really even counterplay. This is just desperation. Now I've got less than 2 minutes on the clock. Well, here my opponent, again, did not play one of their better moves. They immediately saw that they didn't like where my knight was positioned, and they went after it. And I'm supposed to bring it back here now? Well, I didn't. I brought it back over here. And blocking my queen's path to that side. So, not great. But then my opponent plays that. And the red arrow is there from a previous analysis. But I immediately, when they did that, saw that I would love to have my queen on a3. Not only would it be a check, but it would prevent all kind of things, their king coming out. But my knight's in the way. I have to get my knight out. And because they've put their bishop here, I'm not going to put my knight back there. I'm just looking at the evaluation. It says my best move is to put my king right there in the path of their queen. I'm not sure about that. Well, I didn't play any of those moves, but I put this this knight here, getting it out of the way of my queen, right? All of a sudden, my opponent forgets that they have all these pieces trying to come down through here. They forget that I've got a hanging pawn. They forget that all of this weakness, they have a 4-point material advantage at this point. And they didn't play their best move here, which was to immediately challenge my knight with the A pawn. What they did was they moved the king over one. And obviously I can't see the evaluation during the game, but I immediately knew there was a problem with that, because the whole idea of getting my knight out of the way in the first place, which I couldn't have done if I had played that move earlier that the Stockfish suggested, king to b8, because then my knight would have been pinned by their queen. But anyway, the whole reason I moved my knight there in the first place was to put my queen over on a3, and now they made it so that when I put my queen on a3, it's cutting off the king, and the king won't be able to escape. And look at this unprotected square where my knight can go. So I thought, well, I've got a minute and a half. They've been beating me this whole middle game. I might as well go for it, right? I had no idea it was my best move, so I put my queen over there. And here, my opponent gave a really long think, their longest think of the game. And while they were doing it, I immediately saw that if they don't move this pawn, I have a check, their king has to go there, and that's made. But I also saw that if they move this pawn, I can't do that. I honestly thought they were just going to move it up one. I have no idea why I thought that. And then if I check, the king gets out. The engine actually suggests that's their second best move, but slightly better is to just go ahead and go here, which accomplishes the same purpose of giving their king an escape square, but it also directly threatens my knight. And so then they started thinking, and I watched their time ticking down, and I'm like, well, surely they can see that. Maybe they're trying to decide which of those moves are better. Maybe they're thinking of a way to defend this square from my knight. And then, after nearly 2 minutes of thinking, they put their queen there. And I'll admit, I honestly considered taking. The engine says it actually wouldn't be bad if I took with either piece. But they just hung their queen, but then I realized, wait, I still have this. They won't be able to take my queen because they'll be in check, and my same plan applies. And so I did that after 7 seconds of thinking, and they moved over, and 1 second of thinking, I checkmated them. So the reason I said that, even though I'm happy about my new high rating, I'm not that happy about the way that I got it, because I felt like something was really off about this game. Now, I thought maybe the opponent is a beginner and they were just rated at 1200 a few days ago, and they maybe won a couple of games, and then this was the one that they lost to bring them back down. But I checked their profile. They've been on the site for 2 or 3 years. They've played 3,000 rapid games. And just a week ago, they were at 1350. So I have no idea what happened. Maybe they had played several in a row here and just got tired. Maybe they got distracted. But whatever the reason, despite my huge disadvantage in the middle game, when I moved my queen here, they just completely short-circuited and didn't play either one of their best moves with this c pawn. Which, again, right after I moved my queen there, I started using their time to think and realized they're going to be in trouble. But I thought even if they move that pawn there, I'm still going to take it and check. It took, if they go there, I didn't know whether I should jump behind it and check or whether I should take with the pawn. I really had no idea. And then when they played that, I thought, are they just giving this game to me? And I felt kind of deflated, but even though I won, and so it kind of took the sting out of my thing, but I'm happy, I'm still improving, and hopefully I won't get in such a disadvantage next time my opponent plays a weird opening. Again, thank you for the support. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.